Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Stories That Shape Us, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring people from all walks of life to hear their stories. I'm your host, Brock Doty, and in this episode, we're diving into a journey of unexpected change, big skies, and new beginnings. My guest today, Connahr Lalley, a man who traded a fast-paced life on the East Coast for wide open spaces in the state of Montana. A big move that led him to a completely different life, and one that he ultimately never saw coming. Connahr is originally from northwestern New Jersey, and like many young people, he set out to chase his dreams of something bigger and wasn't really quite expecting what he'd find along the way. He came to the state of Montana to play football at the University of Montana Western alongside studying environmental sustainability, but ultimately he ended up taking a very different path that he initially had planned. But it wasn't just the move that changed everything. It was the unexpected life that he had built moving here, from meeting his wife Abbee to working the land in ways that he never saw coming. Today, Connahr finds himself building fences across the state, working on a cattle ranch, and embracing a life that is as tough as it is rewarding. Connahr, welcome to the Stories That Shape Us, man. I'm happy you're here.
Hey, bro. Thank you for having me.
You know what's wild? I was sitting here thinking when we said we were finally going to do this. This is my 10th episode, and it kind of feels like it's coming back full circle. I don't know if you remember, but back in college, you, me, and JJ had this dream of starting a podcast. We were going to call it Bow Nation. We made a logo. We even set up a YouTube channel. And we had plans of sharing all the wild stories from our college days, the late nights, the chaos, and the drunken memories, and all the moments that feel like a lifetime ago. We were living in the moment because we were living for the weekend. And at the time, it's all we knew. And now we're living all over the country, living completely different lifestyles. And it was just one of those, wouldn't it be cool kind of dreams. But ultimately, life got busy, as it does, and it never really took off. But now we're here, not only 10 episodes deep into my podcasting journey, but I get to sit down with one of my best friends from college and hear his story. I don't know about you, Connahr, but it just feels like life came full circle in the best way possible.
It did. Again, thank you for having me. And you're doing better than we did with that. All we had was a logo and a YouTube channel and 0 episodes. So you're 10 ahead of us back then.
We had a big goose egg on the board.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I still have the account on the laptop somewhere, but it's not seeing much use.
Well, let's rewind it a bit. What was life like growing up in the state of New Jersey?
It was just more fast paced, more people, more things to do, not really courteous to the people around you or talking to your neighbors and things like that. Just you could do more because everything was so close. This state is obviously pretty small, and I'm pretty sure it fits in the county that you and I went to school in. And there were 9 million people there, but only 1 million in the state of Montana. So just everything crowded, fast paced, crazy, just a lot more things to do, but a lot more kind of rat race situation.
Oh yeah, I know what you feel there because I'm living in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex now, and it's about 30 miles long, and it has 8 million total people compared to the whole state of Montana, which is the fourth largest state, mind you, and that has just over 1 million. So I completely understand what you're comparing there.
Yeah. It's just a drastically different area. People act different. It's just fast. Everything's fast and everyone's worried about themselves and doing their own life all the time. You never really know your neighbor or the people in your town or something like that.
What was your childhood like growing up?
Mainly just playing sports, hanging out with friends as much as possible, doing whatever stupid things kids do around the neighborhood, hanging out on the lake, going snowboarding. When I was a little older, working, I helped my dad do work when I was way younger until I got my own jobs. Just fairly normal childhood, play with friends and go to school, see all your buddies, that kind of thing.
What was your favorite sport growing up?
At football was number one. I really enjoyed basketball and baseball and other sports like MMA and stuff when I was younger, but once I got to high school, football kind of became the main focus.
Yeah, that's what I love about stories like yours. Like, we come from completely different backgrounds, but we could connect on football. When we met at the University of Montana Western, and
Yeah.
the path will always reveal itself, whether you're coming from hustling, bustling state like New Jersey, going to Montana, or me, I'm from Montana, going to the hustle bustle, living in the city of Dallas, Texas. Did you grow up in a sports heavy environment? Was football always the dream?
So growing up, my parents always encouraged me to play multiple sports. You never really got a season off. In the fall, you're playing football, and winter basketball, spring baseball, and then summer, I was on a swim team. And those sports would collide all the time with different schedules and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, once I got to high school, I played a couple different sports the first 2 years. But then after that, I mainly focused on football. It was just more of the thing I was best at and I enjoyed the most.
What were some of your favorite memories that you have growing up back east?
I grew up in a town within a community in that town. It's called Highland Lakes, and there are multiple lakes on top of what we consider mountains in New Jersey. And the big lake had an island called Blueberry Island. I had a boat, so of course my friends and I would go out. They had a rope swing on there. We'd go swimming, have fires, play on the rope swing, do high school age activities, and I have a bunch of fun out there. We'd camp out there. Mainly in the summer times we'd be doing that. But then in the winter, there was a ski resort called Mountain Creek. I worked there to get a free pass so I could snowboard all winter with my friends. Mainly those memories are the ones I look back on in the summer, swimming at the island, having a fire, drinking with your buddies, and then in the winter, drinking with your buddies while snowboarding.
That sounds like fun. Was there any liquid courage involved, whether you're at the lake or on the ski hill?
I don't know if I call it liquid courage. I think it just added to the bad ideas instead of encouraging you to do them.
Ah,
Let's see
kickapoo
who can go.
juice.
Yeah, who can go the furthest off the rope swing? Who can flip the most? Or hey, there's a 60-foot jump at the bottom of this ski hill. I bet you I can go further than you off of it, and stuff like that. Or just messing with the tourists who come to go skiing and enjoy their time with their girlfriend or whatever, and the punk kids who live around are gonna ruin that for them. So
Yeah, that sounds like some kickapoo juice that you guys were drinking. Did you have any early dreams or ideas on where you wanted to be when you were older?
of course, because I played football, oh, I'm going to the NFL. I'm gonna be a superstar. Blah blah blah. But I mean, not really. I didn't really enjoy school too much, so I kind of based my college dreams off of I'll just be a good football player and watched a whole lot of Blue Mountain State, and that's exactly how it's going to be in college. I convinced myself. So, but as far as career path, life path, I didn't really have put any thought to it besides, oh, maybe I'll go to the NFL or something like that.
How do you think your upbringing shaped who you are today, especially now that you're living such a vastly different lifestyle than what you were raised in?
Working with and for my dad for a while, he's hands down the hardest boss I've ever had. So, um, learning hard work and being able to prove yourself through hard work has kind of been the basis for me to get jobs or be able to hold down a job, things like that. And so you can't deny hard work. So, doing that, and then just relationships I had with friends and becoming, I guess, a good person to along the way to work in society. So just hard work and don't be an ass, basically.
Yeah, work ethic and not being an asshole, that'll take you everywhere.
It's worked so far. I'll let you know if it doesn't.
All right. Well, Jersey to Montana, that's a big leap. What is it that pulled you into Big Sky Country in the first place?
So, like I said, I wasn't really enjoying going to school, sitting in class, and we're going to teach you stuff that we think you should know, and it not being interested in it. So I based going to college off of football, and I don't know if it's around anymore, but there was a highlight film thing that you could put your best plays and your highlights from high school on called Huddle, and different coaches from around the entire country could see your highlight tape and reach out to your school and set up a meeting. So the second half of my junior year, I started meeting with coaches from around the East Coast, from up in New Hampshire to down in the Carolinas. And then I got an email one day from Montana Western, and then pretty soon MSU, the Bobcats, and the Grizzlies. And I had never really thought about moving to Montana. I'd never been there. I'd never paid attention to it as a state in general. I liked being in the woods and in the mountains and things like that. So I decided to come out to the camps that they had out here. And Western's camp, while we were there, kind of told us about how their school system was set up. And they do a block schedule where you only take one class at a time for 3 weeks. And once you're done with that class, that's it. So you don't have 4 or 5 classes on top of each other. And being not a great student and pretty focused on football, it looked like the best of both worlds. Plus, they had a major I was interested in. So I think I'd be sitting in class for a couple hours a day learning about something I wanted to learn about. Then I get to go play football and party. That's kind of the best setup for someone who doesn't want to be in school. I accepted to go to Western and got recruited there to play football, and that's kind of how I just ended up in Montana. It was not wanting to be in school and wanting to play football, and Montana had that to offer, so I took it.
Wow. So what ultimately was the moment where you decided, okay, I'm driving 2,500 miles, 40 hours across the country?
Well, wasn't entirely my decision. My dad said, well, you got some stuff you need to bring out there. And he was a working guy. So he's like, you got to have a toolbox so that you're the only person that can help people work on things. So I had a toolbox in my dorm room, a really nice speaker system that I wasn't going to put on a plane. So I guess it was kind of my decision too. And he wanted to talk to me while we were driving out there, and we had 40 hours to do it. So just about becoming a man and going to school and being on your own and blah, blah, blah. And he wanted to stop at Mount Rushmore. So the drive, I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was long. It was expensive with tolls, but I had been across the country before from California to New Jersey on a motorcycle. So 40 hours, 2,500 miles wasn't too bad.
Wow, that's coast to coast right there.
Yeah.
On that first day of your road trip with your dad, were you feeling ready for a new chapter in your life, or were you more like, what the hell am I doing?
Oh, I was full ready to get out of there. I didn't think I'd end up in Montana, but I knew I wasn't going to end up in New Jersey. So I was pretty eager to go. I mean, leaving my friends behind sucks, but I was ready to do something different, see something different. And I moved to a place that I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the town. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what the cool thing was to do there. So it was kind of like you had your high school time and your childhood, and now it's time to change and grow up and do it somewhere completely different.
Absolutely. Did you feel like in any part of that journey, like you were leaving behind a version of yourself?
Not at first. I thought I was 17 and I had life figured out, so I was who I was and that was it. And nothing was going to change. It was just going to be in a new spot. But not until 3 or 4 years later that I noticed I was not the same person that I was leaving New Jersey or being in New Jersey. Just life had changed me, and probably, if I hope, for the better. But
I remember first meeting you. We were in the same orientation group, and you had a cut-off sleeve shirt, baggy shorts, and Timberlands work boots. And you're from New Jersey, and that's not exactly a place where it's known for open ranges and cattle ranches, right?
no.
What was it like stepping onto Montana Western's campus for the first time as a student? Did it feel like a culture shock, or was it more of this feels right?
I wouldn't say culture shock, but just trying to figure out how I was going to fit in there and what I was going to do, who were going to be my friends. And luckily, since I was playing football, we got there about a month before all the rest of the students. So right off the bat, I was mixed in with guys playing football, and the dorms where I was and you were mainly were football players on that basement floor. So off the bat, it was just a bunch of kids who had moved there and didn't really know anyone, and we're all trying to figure it out together. Football, of course, they're like, well, we're not going to wait for you to get acclimated, so let's get started. But the one thing that did surprise me is the beginning of August or something like that. And we don't really have wildfires in New Jersey. So they take us out onto the football field, and I'm going from 1,500 feet above sea level to 5,000. And then the air is just smoke. You can't see the mountains. And the first thing they say is, oh, we're conditioning tests today. So if anything was a shock, it was that. And like, hey, do you guys know there's like smoke everywhere, right? And they're like, yeah, but you can still see the M, so we're okay.
I remember that summer of 17, the whole state was on fire. California was on fire, Idaho, Wyoming, like it was bad. That was a bad summer for wildfires. How would you describe your overall college experience?
uh, well, in the funny way, I think a lot of other people can describe it to me because there's a few holes in there. But it was a
I think
lot
we
of
can fill in
fun.
the gap for each other because between our cell phone memories and accounts from each other, I think we can fill in each other's holes.
Yeah, don't say it like that. But it was a lot of fun. I was able to cram a 4-year education into 5 years. It was just a good experience overall. And the degree I had, we were able to go off the campus and go do like actual work instead of sitting in a classroom just talking about it. And because of their setup with the block system, it allowed for you to do that. And that was something, as far as education, I was more drawn to that because I was actually interested in what we were talking about and physically doing. So it was a lot of fun. But I still wasn't a fantastic student. That didn't help too much, but it was good. I learned a fair amount, and of course, the nighttime and weekends was my favorite part. When I get
Oh
told
yeah,
them or I remember them.
let's talk about that. How would you describe your nighttime and weekends college experience?
Well, fun. Going to the Met was always a good time. Going to the Dome or just different people's houses. From because going from pretty good parties in high school and stuff like that to now college parties just has a different feel to it. So they were a lot of fun. Like I said, there's a good amount of gaps for them, so I guess that means I had a good time. I had a nasty habit of disappearing from our friends, which I'm sure you can attest to. And well, where's Nar? Where's Nar? And then you guys end up at a house party, and I'm in the middle of the house party doing whatever. So, but my freshman year, there was one other kid from New Jersey who him and I kind of connected on different things, and we had a lot of fun at his house parties, and you were involved, so you know.
I remember.
Yeah.
You eventually had stepped away from football. What had led to that decision, and how did it shape your college years down the line?
So I had been playing for 11 or 12 years at that point. I had injuries from high school, injuries from other sports, injuries from being an idiot. I kind of had one flare up again during a practice. And, I love football. I think about it all the time, but it just wasn't really wasn't really what I wanted to do anymore, and it was kind of taken away from stuff I was doing at the school and just the time in general. And I decided with a lot of nervousness that I wasn't going to play anymore. Went to the coach's office and told him, and he's like, well, if that's what you want to do, and if you decide to come back, you can come back, but good luck with what you're doing. For about 2 weeks after that, I was going back and forth in my head. That was a stupid decision. Why would you do that? This is what you've done your whole life. But after that 2 week period and some uncomfortable phone calls with my parents, started to dive more into the physical work of the classes, going out and doing research, finding more friends on the campus, not just people with football. And I think overall it was the right decision. My body definitely thanked me afterwards, and I was able to do more with the school and stuff with my degree that maybe I could have been able to do while playing football, but maybe not enjoy as much because I'm tired or I'm focused on a game or focused on practice or film or something like that. So stepping away from it was tough, but I think it was the right decision. And now looking back, I know it's the right decision because of what I've got going now. So
And you can walk. You're not broken.
yeah, I just traded that in for a lifestyle that could easily break you too. So I I don't know what I was thinking there.
Well, hey, I think you're living the life, man. Is there any college memories that still make you laugh today when you look back on them?
Yeah, probably you, JJ, Snacks, Kev, Jaron, and I used to do these challenges to see something on the game, and whoever lost the challenge had to do a punishment. And the one I lost, it was in the negative 30s or something, and I had to go outside and do a snow angel in my underwear. And pretty sure I had a hole in the crotch too, which you've got a video of. But uh, I'd do that, which that was fun. Or not make myself look so bad. You had to do a beer luge off of Snack's chest, which was full of hair and man
His
boobies.
his hairy chest,
Yeah.
mind you, and he didn't shower that day, and not fun. Not fun.
No.
I gagged. I don't know who has the video, but I was gagging at the start.
Yeah, I couldn't compose myself to hold a phone. So
Oh, well, I have one of you. If you're going to help me, I have one of you. You and I were at a
all
house
right.
party across the street from the university, and you tracked me down. And you're like, bro, I gotta poop. I'm like, all right, well, I do too. Let's go back into the into the college and we'll go poop in the dorms. And we're about halfway there, and you're like, uh-oh, I'm not gonna make it. And you hurried your ass over to a tree when you painted the side of a tree because you couldn't hold it. And you splatted that tree. And I remember when we'd walk to class, we'd check to see if the splat was still there. Sure as shit it was, no pun intended.
Well, the best part about that story is one, it was Halloween, so I was in jean shorts, which requires a bit of athleticism to get off quickly when they're that tight. And two, they found my keys to the dorms later on, and I had to go get them and kind of not explain the story, but just, oh, how did your keys end up there? I'm like, oh, they must have fell out of my pocket. So
Man, what was your go-to like weekend move? We've gone to a couple bonfires. We went to a lot of parties. We kept it low key sometimes. What was your go-to weekend move?
So probably what all of us did is we'd start off by getting bottles of vodka or tequila or whiskey and
You have to
emptying
name the
out.
brands because they were cheap bottles. It was Nikolai vodka, Burnett's vodka, Jose Cuervo, just the cheap bottom shelf nasty shit that only college kids can afford. All right,
Seagram
continue.
7 whiskey. Yeah. Uh, Emptying out
Ugh.
2-liter bottles and refilling them with liquor and just, we better pound these as fast as possible so we're ready to go to whatever house party. Eventually end up at the Met, dance on some ropes, break a stage, and then go outside and just wait to hear an address be yelled and go to whatever house party that was and stumble back to the dorms or the house we lived in eventually. And
Around
I
like
think
5 a.m.
you have a video of me stumbling into your dorm, sliding across the door. But I'm pretty sure I said I'm a giraffe and then passed out. Yeah, and dented in the closet. So basically, just drinking heavily and getting ready to go is probably the biggest plan we could come up with.
That and the Try Not to Laugh videos. Do you remember when we'd play Try Not to Laugh on YouTube?
Yep, because my room was the hangout room for everyone because I brought speakers.
Yeah, you were the smart one out of the friend group and brought speakers to college. Speaking of speakers, do you want to tell them about your experience with the lady that was the director of dining services?
Yeah, she hated me definitely because I decided to have a big old subwoofer right against the wall, and I'm pretty sure vibrated her paintings or shelves or whatever and knocked them off. And at the end of freshman year, she was so happy that this kid was going to move out. And guess what? I'm back. So she had 2 years of music vibrating things off her wall. She never said anything to me, but
I think
she
she
gave me
ended up
some.
quitting after our sophomore year.
Well, that's news to me. So
Well, let's fast forward a little bit further. Of course, you met Abbee during college. How did that story begin?
pretty sure that's one of those gaps. She tells me we met uh, at a house party, and I was concerned because she wasn't feeling well, and I guess I'm a better person then because I had no idea what she's talking about. But she was friends with you and some other people I was friends with, and just kind of met through mutual friends, and eventually started dating, and um, we moved in together. We were together and just worked well together and kept going, and then eventually got married.
There's this story, I don't remember, it's one of my gaps, but I guess we had a Gatorade bottle filled with Everclear, and you gave it to Abbee. And I don't know the details behind it. I just know she tells that sometimes.
Yeah, so that's a gap I was talking about. We were at a party, and it was a Sunny D bottle that was 90% Everclear, 10% Sunny D. And her and her friend were off standing, and I had talked to her a little bit at this point. We weren't dating yet. And I thought I'll be a gentleman and share my Everclear and Sunny D with them. So I filled up their cups and was talking to them for a second. And I got distracted by a beer bong, and I didn't talk to them for the rest of the night. And apparently, I told them it was vodka, and so they were all gung ho and ready to party with it. It was not. In my defense, I had been drinking the bottle of Sunny Days, so uh, apparently the one girl she was with drank it way too fast, way too much. She had to walk her home and was not doing well. Abby got lost walking back in a straight line. After that, I guess we really started becoming friends and then eventually dating because she said, "Well, you gave us vodka. I was drinking Everclear. I don't." But you trusted someone drinking it. That's kind of on you, but Yeah, I guess that's how I remember us meeting. But like I said, and supposedly we met before.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But you've been with Abbee since 2018, 2017-ish. What's it been like growing from college sweethearts to building a life side by side?
Well, in college, we were both still young and stupid, so we had some tough stuff there. But she was a bartender, and I was pouring concrete, and kind of the move that started our life was she saw an ad in the paper for a like a secretary for a law firm, and she asked me, "Do you think if I applied for it, I'd be able to get that job?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And bartending wasn't going great, so I was like, you should do it." And she applied and got it. And that kind of set up our life because of who she started working for. We kind of changed from college students to actual young adults and moving forward in our professional life and our relationship, and not just dating, but living together. And we got a dog together who we still have, a Schmebel. From that point forward, really grew as people instead of just two college kids seeing each other.
How different is the life that you're creating together today from what you imagined back in college it would be like?
So, because she got that job, her boss had a son who was looking for a fence laborer. And I was pretty sick of pouring concrete. And I said, "Well, I never built fence, but I'll take his number. I'll give him a call, and it'll just be something temporary, something different. Can't be that hard." And so I called and started working for Garrett, my boss. And slowly I started getting more involved because he owns and operates a ranch as well. Getting more involved on the ranching side and heavily involved with the fencing, and while still going to school. And getting towards the end of my second senior year, he was kind of asking me, what are you gonna do?" And I told him, "Well, a friend of ours gave me the contact information for someone at Nike, because I was going to be like their sustainability officer in my head, and I guess work a office job and do that kind of thing." Garrett said to me, he's like, "Well, what about you and I talk about a salary and maybe moving out here onto the ranch?" So we had a conversation about it and what exactly it would entail. I went back to Abbee and mentioned it to her. And since we were older and more serious together, she told me, "Well, is this what you want to do with your life?" And I kind of had to think about it and, balance the pros and the cons and what it's going to entail. And I decided that I do want to work with livestock and be on a ranch and continue building here with Garrett, and start my family on a ranch and have them grow up, experience the things I've experienced here versus what I experienced as a kid. Now, that wasn't necessarily bad, but it was different. And I think growing up on a ranch and doing the work that I do and showing them all that stuff is a pretty good childhood and a way to grow up and learn to gonna go build fence in the mountains and everywhere else in Montana, brand cattle and do calving and do water and grow hay, cut hay, put hay up, all the stuff involved with a ranch, so, or a cattle operation.
You guys came from two opposite sides of the coast. Obviously, you were from New Jersey. She was from California. What's been the biggest adjustment of living together and ultimately raising a child in Montana?
We didn't really have to adjust to each other much. We get along really well just naturally. She's a very kind, understanding person, and I'm a very quiet and mind my own business kind of person. So we just get along really well together. We didn't really have to adjust too much. When we were younger, we get in little bouts here and there, but we were younger, figuring out life, figuring out each other. As far as having to change anything between ourselves or with each other, kind of just came naturally.
How about now that you have a little one at home?
It's the best, the coolest thing. It's the cliche thing to say, but it's amazing seeing him figure out life from, obviously I have a hand, to like moving around and grabbing things and playing with the dogs. It's the coolest thing in the world, and she is the most amazing mother in the world.
And how old is Beckett?
He's 9 months now, but he's the size of a 2-year-old, but that's to be expected. Yeah, he's going to be your size by when he's 5, so.
Well, I don't blame him because his parents are two gigantic individuals. So, yeah, probably. He probably will outgrow me. What does a typical day look like on the ranch for you? When we were talking on the phone the other day, you were plowing fields, getting ready to seed, and getting ready for that season of farming, but you're not a farmer, you're a rancher. And so, talk to me a little bit about what a typical day looks like for you.
So, I don't think there's ever a typical day really on the ranch. There's obviously processes that are the same every year, but you run into different scenarios every year. Right now, this kind of early spring, we're still feeding cows and checking calves, and it's branding season for most of the state. So going to different people's brandings, doing our own. Now we have feed cows in the morning, check them, make sure they're okay, check all the waters, make sure all those are running. Since it's getting nicer, we're able to go out and do more fencing projects. But then as we get further into summer here, we'll start getting all the irrigation going. So instead of feeding cows in the morning, you're out moving wheel lines, getting hand line going, starting pivots, checking fields, making sure all the pumps are good. And the hay season of growing, and then we got to cut and harvest and bale everything up. Once that's done, we get into fall and still doing fencing projects and other things for people around Southwest Montana. And cows will be coming back from summer pasture and getting ready to go into winter and feeding again, and then calving, and then where we are now. So there's not really a typical as you do this exactly the same this time of year every year, but the processes kind of run the same, but the scenarios that you run into are different. So it's not like a mind numbing thing over and over again. One year you might have this happen while you're doing it, you take care of that, and the next year is a complete different situation while doing the same thing.
How'd you adjust to it? Was it tough at first, or did it kind of come naturally?
Different things are definitely tough. When I first started and getting involved with more of the ranch work, the first time I really was involved with the cows was during preg checking, and I had to work the back of the chute. And I thought you just like, oh, open the gate and run the cows in, they'll walk in and do their thing. And I quickly learned that they will hop over the fence, run after you, not go in the hole, not go where you want them to go. Just really had to work on my stockmanship to understand where to put pressure and how to work with cows and get them to do what you want to do without hooting and hollering and yelling and getting frustrated. And that was pretty difficult, and I'm still working on that.
Yeah, you definitely learn as you go because no two things are ever going to be the same. Do you ever stop and just kind of take in the land around you, whether you're fencing up in the mountains or just driving cattle, that, hey, this is my life now?
Every day I'm either looking at like the clouds going by while we're fencing, or being out checking cows, especially this time of year in late fall where it's still warm. You got a sweatshirt on and the sun's going down, and you're just kind of looking at the cows, and you don't hear anything besides them just munching grass and little calves running around. It's beautiful. It's not something you get to see in New Jersey. I find myself either looking at the mountains or looking at the sky or just looking around in general.
Do you ever miss the fast-paced East Coast lifestyle, or have you fully embraced the quiet and the space of Big Sky Country?
I never do. Just who I've become now, even just going up to Butte or Bozeman, I just lose my mind. All the people around, and there's barely anyone there in comparison. I want to be left alone, quiet, let me just do my work and You mind your business, I'll mind mine. And I don't really think about over there besides the people. But as far as area, no, I never think about it, and just it's just in the past.
If someone would have told you from high school this would be your future, how do you think you would have reacted?
Funny enough, my grandmother says that all the time. I never would have thought you would be out there doing this. If you were to tell me in high school I'd be where I am now, I'd probably blow you off and keep doing what I was doing, because there was no way I was thinking that. And like I said, I knew I wasn't going to end up in New Jersey, but Montana never even came up on the possibilities.
Looking ahead, what's something you're really excited about, whether it's for your family, your work, or just you personally?
I'm excited to see my son grow up and learn the stuff that I've learned. And I'm kind of excited to see how different his childhood is, and from mine or Abby's coming from California. Just how different it is growing up in an environment like this versus where we grew up. Uh, I'm excited to see him grow, and however many more kids we have, I'm excited for them. Uh, what my wife and I are going to do in life, I'm excited for, just to see where it takes us, what we do, and then continuing to grow the ranch, get more cows, get more land, um, and do more of that every day. That's what I look forward to every day, and kind of the goal that keeps you going when fencing's tough or projects are tough or anything like that.
Do you think Montana is going to be your long-term home, or do you think there's another chapter coming down the road?
For right now, unless something real drastic happens between Garrett and I don't think we'll be leaving or anything like that. If something were to happen, which I don't think it will, I think Abby's going to push me pretty hard to move to Norway, because her and I went there for our honeymoon. It was very enjoyable, and I wouldn't mind moving there. It's a beautiful country and all that stuff. The only way we'd leave Montana is if, like I said, something happened between Garrett and I, or he found an opportunity in New Mexico or Wyoming or Arizona that had a massive ranch, and we all moved down there.
If you could design the perfect life for you and Abbee in the next 5 to 10 years, what would that look like for you?
Well, something magical happened where ranching, you can make money and pay for the ranch at the same time, and have everyone be happy and healthy and living a successful life. Her and I still living here, and I go work on the ranch, and she wants a flower shop. She could have her own flower shop where she sells flowers, and I get home at the end of the night, hang out with my kids and her, and wake up and do it again.
That's a beautiful life. I like that. What kind of legacy do you hope to build?
I don't know if it's a legacy or more just have a happy, healthy family, as cliche as it sounds, but have kids that they want to come around when they're older and come back to visit their dad and bring their grandkids. And because I didn't come from a very, very big family, so having them like me enough to come back and show me their kids and just have them around later in life and do a good job raising them, that they can find something they enjoy doing and do it well.
Yeah, man, absolutely. That's always the goal. But what a journey you've been on these last 8 years, from the East Coast to a college campus to a cattle rancher and everything in between. Hearing how your life has unfolded has been truly inspiring, not just because of what you've done, but because of who you've become through it all. So as we start to wrap up, I want to give you a moment to speak freely. Is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with today? Maybe a thought, a lesson, or just a piece of encouragement that you want to share? The mic's yours, dude.
Yeah. You never know what life's going to bring you. So just kind of accept it. And if you don't like it, do something to change it. Be kind to other people, mind your own business, and eat beef. So I think that's all I got for you.
That's powerful, man. It's just one thing to dream about a meaningful life. It's another to actually build it with your own two hands, day by day, and alongside someone who believes in the same vision and ultimately supports your vision. I just can't help but think about how unpredictable yet purposeful life can be. I think we all grow up with this unspoken pressure to have a plan, to know what we want to do, where we want to live, who we want to be. All that thing needs to be planned out because we map it out in our heads. How we were raised can start to form something in us, but it ultimately is us that has to go against the status quo or come along and challenge the blueprint. And that's what makes your story so compelling, Connahr. Take a leap of faith moving across the country. You left behind the comfort, familiarity, the crowd that you grew up with, and you moved to some place where you didn't really know what to expect and a future that you couldn't really see yet. But in doing that, you found something a lot of people spend their whole life searching for, and that's clarity. A deep understanding of who you are and what matters the most, whether it be love, loyalty, hard work, peace, and ultimately leaving a legacy. And maybe that's what this whole thing is about. Not finding the quote unquote perfect life, but finding the life that's perfectly yours. The one that aligns with your values, your rhythm, and your heart. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to remember the car that you drove or how many followers you had on Instagram. They're going to remember how you treated people and how you worked, how you made your little corner of the world better, not louder. And the life that you're building with Abbee in Montana, the land, the early mornings, the late nights, the hard-earned peace, man, that's the dream for a lot of people. Not because it's flashy or easy, but because it's real. So for anyone listening who feels like they're stuck or their life doesn't look the way that they had pictured, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that means there's something more out there waiting for you. And maybe in your wildest, most meaningful chapter has yet happened. Have you ever crafted a vision for your life, mapped it out perfectly in your head, only to find yourself walking down a completely different road than you originally had set your sights on? Maybe it's one you never saw coming. Well, that's exactly what Proverbs 16:9 speaks to when it says, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." There's this tension where we all live in between the life we imagine and the life that God actually is leading us into. After listening to Connahr's story of leaving New Jersey, stepping away from football, falling in love, working cattle, I couldn't help but think about how many unexpected pivots had to happen for him to end up where he is today. Here's the thing. He didn't script any of this. He had dreams, routines, and a general idea of what his life might look like. But somewhere along the way, he felt a deeper nudge that ultimately shifted his life. And instead of ignoring it, he listened. And that's the piece I really want to sit with. Because pivoting, real life-altering pivots, are no small thing. It means leaving behind what's familiar, stepping away from a version of yourself that you've always known, and the one that others expect you to be. And it means choosing to do something for yourself. And yet so often that very pivot, the one that comes before a breakthrough, the people you were meant to meet, the growth you didn't know you needed, the purpose that finally feels real, that's the power of a pivot. And that's why Proverbs 16:9 speaks so deeply here. Because when you are standing on the edge of something new, something unknown, that's when we're tempted to hold on tight to our own plans. But faith doesn't require a roadmap. Faith asks you to trust. God may not show you the whole journey ahead, but he gives you the next step. And if you're bold enough to take it, even when it doesn't fully make sense, that's where transformation happens. That's where he meets you. And maybe right now, in that place between standing in a crossroad and a heart full of questions, maybe you've already pivoted and you're wondering if you made the right move. Let me remind you that pivots aren't detours, they're divine appointments. They may feel like endings, but more often than not, they're the beginning of something deeper, a more soul-filled chapter. The kind of chapter that isn't written out of pressure, or performance, but out of purpose. And just like Connahr, your life might not look like what you first envisioned, but maybe it's becoming exactly what it was always meant to be. So wherever you're at, I want you to remember this. God can use your pivot and he can redeem it and he can grow you through it. And he can absolutely meet you in the middle of it. Because sometimes the most powerful chapters in our stories are the ones that we never saw coming. I hope his story today reminded you that no matter where you're standing right now, that's okay. Let go of the blueprint because God is not at the destination. He's with you at every step of the way. So Connahr, thank you for showing us what it looks like to walk through that journey with humility, grit, and faith. You left us with a powerful reminder that sometimes our best chapters in our story begin with an unexpected turn. Connahr's journey is proof that when life doesn't go according to plan, it can still unfold exactly the way it's meant to, with purpose, with love, and with faith leading the way. Next time, we're diving into another story of resilience, growth, and transformation. Until then, keep your heart open, keep your steps faithful, and remember, your story matters. This has been The Stories That Shape Us. Join us each week for real stories, real growth, and real impact. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.